Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Shadow Sorcerer Bard multi-class build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. This is cool because the Shadow Sorcerer allows us to hide out in darkness, cast spells from it, or use the abilities that we get from the Bard. So there's actually some fun combinations here. We also get the Hound of Ill Omen, which lets us recover our sorcery points as well. But from this Shadow Magic, we get the Strength of the Grave, so if we get down, we regain 1 health point instead of becoming downed, and we get Dark Vision up to 24 meters. As for the cantrips, I would recommend taking Booming Blade because we'll actually be able to use this alongside the Bard as they can get an extra attack. I'm also going with Bone Chills. It fits thematically but stops the target from receiving healing. Bursting Sinew, which isn't amazing but it can explode corpses and fits thematically. And Fire Bolt, which can blow up some different things if you're into Baromancy. As for spells, Shield and Magic Missile work best here, but we can also, if we want some like minor hiding abilities, we got Fog Cloud as well. I also really like Thunderwave because you can push back enemies, but the Bard also gets this spell, so just a little heads up there. For ability scores, 16 Charisma. However, you can take 17 Charisma if you have the Hags here, but we'll be going to 16 here, 10 Intelligence and Wisdom, 14 Constitution for our health, and 16 Dexterity. Now, Dexterity is going to be good for certain weapon attack rolls for the Bard, but alternatively, if you really want to, you get added in the Hexblade Warlock, 1 level to give you Charisma skill in your weapon, but I'm not going to do that for here. At level 2, we get ourselves another spell. So again, Thunderwave is really nice, but we can't get this else how. Haste Knife also works too when we're silenced, so that could be a good option, especially early game. And even Mage Armor can be a nice one early game as well if you need a little bit extra survivability. I also mentioned the Fog Cloud for minor stealth, but we do get some better stealth in a moment. So Chromatic Orb can also work good, but Thunderwave is really nice for the pushback that it gives. Meta Magics. Distance Spell and Twin Spell. Twin Spell is great because we can get Twin to Haste, and Distance Spell to increase the range. If we can't hit a target, sometimes we can with that. Now at level 3, we get our Eyes of the Darkness, which allows us to spend 2 sorcery points or a level 2 spell slot to make darkness that we can see from. So with the Eyes of the Darkness, this will blind and obscure creatures within it. This is huge because we can hide out in it, and they can't do melee or ranged attacks towards us. They can throw, but that's all right. They're not going to be doing as much damage with throwing attacks. And you also break line of sight with certain areas. Now, we also can take something like Hold Person. I'm also a big fan of Misty Step or Scorching Ray. Those are really good damage options early game. Hold Person being one of the better ones here. And then Meta Magic, Quickened Spell. Being able to cast a bonus action spell is very, very valuable. At level 4, we get ourselves another cantrip here, so we can take like our Ray of Frost. And then for the spells we'll be taking here, again, Scorching Ray or Misty Step are your best options. I like Scorching Ray there, as we're going to typically be hiding out in our darkness anyways, but this could be nice if you're not near your darkness. So that's another option, because we can upcast our spells. So Misty Step or Scorching Ray. And for the feat, an ability score improvement on our Charisma. That just works best here. It's Charisma's our main spellcasting stat. At level 5, we get access to level 3 spells. We could get Counterspell. This is really nice. We can also get Haste, as a sorcerer is a really good person to have Haste on because they have Constitution saving throw proficiency. As well, we can twin this to another target, so that's really huge. It's also hard to go wrong with Fireball and Lightning Bolt. Those are my 2 personal favorites just for damage output, so I'm going to go with that there. At level 6, this is when we get ourselves the Hound of Ill Omen, which is it's a bonus action, 3 sorcery points to create the dog. And what the dog doing? It can do an ominous bite, which can do a omen on a target, and then we have to cast a spell or do damage that is that type, and then we get a sorcery point back. So it could be piercing damage, it could be fire damage, it could be cold damage. So we want to have as much coverage as possible with our spell selection here. We don't have any lightning spells, so we'll take Lightning Bolt here. Again, Haste is also really good, so it's a toss-up between those two, what you're going to take. Alternatively, we can also go with something like swapping out our Chromatic Orb, which we're likely not going to use much, and then take Haste or Counterspell here. So that's another option that we got. Now we're going to add in the Bard, because this will give us the extra attack, and that's a really big benefit. So we're going to go with the Bard, take Vicious Mockery and Mage Hand or Minor Illusion too. And for the spells, we got ourselves pretty much everything you can see here. So we got Healing Word, bonus action heal, Dissonant Whispers, can frighten a target, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, enough said. And Thunderwave, push back all enemies. Also, Longstrider is quite nice to increase our movement speed by 3 meters. I definitely recommend that. I think someone has that spell on your team. We get the free Song of Rest, Short Rest there, and the Jack of All Trades, adding half your proficiency bonus to ability checks you're not proficient in. And then we get ourselves another spell, which we can take our Longstrider there. Into level 3 here, we choose our subclass. College Glamour, as cool as nice as it is, it's just not that great when we have something like College of Swords, which lets us do flourish attacks. So we can do a range attack twice at a target, and we can hit the same target twice, which is really nice. We can also do a teleporting mobile flourish, or we can do a defensive flourish, which will increase armor class. We also get to pick a fighting style, so depending if we have a shield, sword and shield, and I'd recommend going sword and shield for better armor class, we'll go that route. And then we get to choose a level 2 spell. Cloud of Daggers can be kind of fun. It can be upcast to deal extra damage, but what's nice about Cloud of Daggers is it doesn't have a check. It just does damage, so that's great. Because everything in this game, there's so many spells that have attack rolls and spell save DC. It's nice to have one that does them. We'll take Minor Illusion for our cantrip at level 4 here. And then for the next spell, Enhanced Ability can actually be kind of nice, giving advantage on ability checks, which is great outside of combat. Invisibility is also quite useful. And then even Shatter is not a bad spell to take. We can also replace spells as we get to higher levels, which we will in a moment. And we'll go with ability score improvement to take our charisma all the way up to 20. Level 5, we get improved Bardic Inspiration Select. We'll go up to a 1d8, and we get it back on a short rest now. And we can take some spells, which I really like, Glyph of Warding, and we'll also be taking Fear. So we can pop off whatever one of these spells that you find you're not using often. If you're not using Tasha's Hideous Laughter, you can take Fear instead. Or we can also take Plant Growth, which is another powerful spell to have, because Plant Growth is crowd control without a spell slot used, or without a concentration used. We also get Counter Charm here, but we get our big subclass feature, the extra attack. So now we can do 2 weapon attacks, or technically 4 bow attacks, and then cast a spell. This is a really interesting combination. We'll take Plant Growth there, and now I'll show you gear, and then we'll show off combat to take advantage of the cool abilities that we get with this subclass combination. So for gear, the birth rate half with +2 to charisma. It's a little bugged right now, but +2 charisma, we'll put our charisma all the way up to our 22 staff for a +6. That just means we're having better spell casting. The Cloak of Protection gives us a nice increased armor class, which puts us at 20 armor class. I have the Wave Mother's robe on here, but we do get some armor proficiency, so medium armor is the heaviest that we can go with, and this will put our armor class up to 26, so that's not too shabby. We could roll with that. And the Faerun Colors Ow die works great there on the armor of agility, making it nice and stealthy. I also went with the Helldust Gloves. This will give us bonus to our spells, spell attack rolls, and it'll give us additional fire damage on our attacks, which actually becomes pretty strong. Although even things like the Gemini Gloves for the Adroit Caster that can't target another target is nice. Early game, Gloves of Dexterity can let you dump your Dexterity stat and go into Constitution a little bit higher. It really depends what you got for best available, but I like Helldust Gloves late game, Gloves Dexterity early game, and even Gloves of Blizzard Skies there is pretty good too, or Gemini Gloves. That also Evasive Shoes, but if you also have something like the Helldust Boots are nice late game, but Disintegrating Nightwalkers are also pretty decent items too. You can't slip on ice, and you also get a free Misty Step. And Boots of Stormy Clamor are also great. Whenever you inflict a condition on target, you get Reverberation stack. So we could kind of stack up Reverberation on this build if you wanted to do something a little bit different. This gives us 26 armor class. Marka Heshker is the best staff. Early game, you can use cold damage, use the Morning Frost. That's another option. But we can also go with this Valor Eluve, because we got a couple different ways we're going about this, because we got our Marka Heshker here, which is, this is a bow that's going to do, or this is a staff that's going to do mostly spell casting for us. So we got a nice combination of things. Also for bows, Gaunter Mail is going to be the best. Hellrider Longbow for the better initiative also works good. Deadshot for better critical hit chance. I also think that the Titan String Bow is awesome. If you have a bunch of strength potions, you can roll with something like that, but we're not going to be using bows too frequently. But hand crossbows, if you got the proficiency for it as well. I'm having some issues with this because typically the Bard, whenever they have the Sword Bard, they get Rapier proficiency, which is not showing up there, but the Infernal Rapier is also a nice weapon to go with. I'm just going to go with the Marka Heshker here because we can do some bow attacks, and then also follow it up with spellcasting, as I think that's the best combination there. Also Viconia's Walking Fortress, and then I went with the Ring of Protection. Killer Sweetheart's nice for the free crit. However, we can go with some other things like the Shadow Cloaked Ring here, which will give us additional attacks against if we have lightly or heavily obscured targets, which is kind of nice. We also could go with the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. It's never a bad idea. If we do weapon attacks, then we can cast some spells as bonus action without having to use up our sorcery points. Even this doesn't fit thematically, but we can apply Radiating Orb on targets. This does illuminate areas, but this gives debuffs to the opponent's attacks. So I guess to show things off in combat. Also, summon in your dog a little bit early before, if you know you're getting into a fight, because you don't have to use a bonus action, you can just bring them in right outside of combat. It'll also splinter off into more dogs. Kind of cool. So first turn of combat, it's our dog's turn. Now you can go and do the Ominous Bite, which will apply the Omen on them, but it also has the Umbral Tangle, which is a really cool ability. So we can move it in there, use the Umbral Tangle, and you can see it hits in a big area of effect there, and this will stop them in their spot. So Yeah, it's pretty nice to have that there. I forgot to apply Kreska's favor. That's another thing we can do to give ourselves some actual damaging spells we normally wouldn't get. So we can get Cone of Cold from Dark Winter, or Bolts of Doom will give us the Chain Lightning. So sucks to use one of my actions this way. I can get counterspelled doing that, but that is an option they got. Now we got 2 attacks that we can use, so we can go ahead with like a flourish if we'd like. But whenever you see targets grouped together like this, I just think one thing, and that is Fireball. And we also got higher level spell slots, and we got ourselves the Arcane Battery, which lets us do a level 6 Fireball. So if you want to go all out on damage, this is the way to do it. So you can literally find the area that's going to hit the most amount of targets and drop it right there without hitting your dog. And a level 6 Fireball will do quite a bit of damage. But we also want to have some extra crowd control, so I guess that was just a way to clear out some of the mobs. I wanted to protect my dog there. We also should have our darkness set up, so we can use our quicken spell here to get ourselves some darkness. We can use the one that does take up our sorcery points. We don't have that many sorcery points, and if we're using the quicken spell, that's going to take it up. So we can apply down our darkness there as a bonus action ability, and that gives us a way to like camp out and hide out in. So then we can go into our darkness and then continue to party from there. I'm not sure what I did, but one of the targets there just did I didn't cast confusion or anything, but they just did ensnaring strike on their own teammate. Not sure what that was all about, but this is a good opportunity to show off our how the dog works in darkness. So we can apply the ominous bite. As it has advantage, it's going to be much more likely to miss, hit. Yeah, nice, good stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the dog. It only has 42 health, but you can heal it and keep it alive, because every time that it gets hit with a melee attack that's not radiant damage, it's going to splinter off into more dogs, and they can keep splintering off into even more dogs. It's amazing how many dogs you can get going. Now what's funny is we can attack targets that are in our little area here, so we can go ahead with a booming blade on this target here, bonk, and that actually exploded my radioactive blood, or my explosive blood there, which will destroy the darkness. So you do got to move around to stay within your darkness. But yeah, since we got our attacking, we can do a range attack or a normal weapon attack there. But what's also nice about it is we can actually go ahead with a slashing flourish, so that we can actually go ahead and do 2 attacks at once. Now this doesn't work if you're attacking in or out of darkness. It's actually kind of weird how it works. If it's the other type of darkness, I believe you're able to cast out of it. It's kind of weird, but you can see here we can do a ranged attack there, which will take out the target, and then we have our whole extra action here, which, you know, when targets are grouped together like that, it's hard not to want to do a fireball. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna do another level 6 fireball, because that's what we'd want to do. I'm using the free cast there. Anytime that you can cast large amounts of damage, it's always the preferred option to do that. So that's nice. We can also, since we have our bonus action, keep our dog alive, so we can give it a little bit of a heal. We also got ourselves Bardic Inspiration too, which we can buff up our teammates with. So yeah, we always want to end our turn in our darkness here, because this is going to be the best way to survive. Now hopefully our dog will not miss this time. I also blew up again, which removed my darkness, so we'll just go after this guy here, and critical miss, of course. Now we're surrounded here, but there's some fun stuff that we can do. So we could get ourselves into a little bit more prime positioning, grab our trusty Thunderwave spell. I don't like hitting the dog. We can do it without hitting the dog, so we're going to try it. That at least got one of them. Thunderwave is always a nice spell to try, because sometimes you can take targets out really easily. But now that we're out of the woodworks here, we could try a defensive flourishes are also a nice idea to do, because with a defensive flourish that can help keep you alive. We can actually get them with a slashing flourish, so we'll do that. That actually worked out very well. We did a good bit of damage there, and we still got our extra attack, so we can finish off this target with our booming blade, which, yes, we're not using a blade, but hey, you don't need a blade when you got Marka Heshker. So didn't end up using our free chain lightning, but you can see it's strong. The sorcerer and the bard go together very well due to sharing charisma. Just another heads up, you also got the eyes of the dark there, which you can apply that attack that you can do this from. So you can go in here, and then again, we're immune to blinded, so this is very, very strong, because we can just camp out in our darkness and cast spells from it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.